My question is, how does source energy see apologizing or apology?
Unnecessary. Source never does it. Source never apologizes because Source is never condemned to begin with, so there's no undoing to do. But from a practical standpoint, in terms of what we are talking about here today, anything that makes you feel better is a good thing. So our friend was talking about wanting to undo the center, and an apology is a little bit like trying to undo an argument.
Right.
Only you can't undo the argument, you just reactivate it.
Because you're undoing it from outside the vortex.
Because you're focused on it, which takes you outside the vortex. That's why our answer about how Source sees it, was so blunt. We've said Source doesn't get into forgiveness because it's like overcoming the judgment, but Source didn't judge to begin with, so there's no overcoming. And yet someone who, let's speak in human terms. You're asking about Source. Let's talk about you.
Yes.
So when you forgive, it would be like going into the vortex.
Yes.
It would be like letting go of what was keeping you out of the vortex and going in.
Yes.
When you, and maybe apology and forgiveness are sort of the same thing. It's letting go of what's holding you out.
Right.
It's like saying to whoever you're forgiving or whoever you're apologizing to, it's like saying, I'm no longer going to use this as my excuse to not be in the vortex.
Yes.
But it's a little bit risky
Yes.
because in your no longer using it, you're still focused on it, which
you might
means
reactivate it. Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that, at least before today, that I had an addiction to being right.
It's an epidemic.
Okay.
In other words, you're not the only one who has it.
Okay. And when
it was born out of the competitive world of measuring the piles and comparing them.
Yes.
And so a lot of people, Esther wrestles that to the ground at least once a day. Because there's something about being right that you've been taught that seems to have some reward, and we just want being in the vortex to be a higher criteria than being right, because everyone gets to have their perspective, which means everybody gets to be right. And just because you differ in your perspective, and so you differ in what you believe is right, it's not a very good argument for anything that feels good or will benefit you.
Right. When I'm in the middle of being right or wanting to be right or being driven or feeling driven to be right.
Just write it out. It's like
write it out.
It's like jumping out of an airplane with no parachute. Don't worry, it'll be over soon. In other words, sometimes in that free fall, there isn't anything else you can do because you've already got the momentum going. And but in light of the conversation that we've had today, you could make a decision to get really general really fast. In other words, for example, do you want to talk about a situation where you wanted to be right?
Yes. Okay. It's with my daughter. And I push against the way.
All right, so that's as far as you need to go with that.
Yes.
So let's say that you have a disagreement about something, and you're sure you're right, and you're expressing it, and you're not feeling good, and now it's compounded because now you're out of the vortex, and now it seems like the reason you're out of the vortex is because of this situation, which makes you resent it even more, and the more specific you try to be, the more out of the vortex you are. So now, in light of the conversation that we've had here today, you decide to take a more general stance. And so you think, specific to the situation, you know you're right and she's wrong. And specific to the situation, she's sure she's right and you're wrong.
Right.
Specific to the situation.
Exactly.
But generally speaking, and in terms of emotion, you adore this girl. You love her, you love her, you love her, she loves you. Generally speaking, you really love each other. Specifically, you're really hard to deal with. But generally speaking, you really... And so as you get general, you go in the vortex. Isn't that a really good understanding? You go right in the vortex, and then you say, oh, now I'm in there, I love her. Now maybe we can work that out. Oh, don't go there. Don't go there.
Right.
Don't go there. It's too soon. Don't go there. Don't go there till you're stable in the vortex. Don't go there. Don't sacrifice the vortex for the specific of needing to be right. Stay in. That's what unconditional love is.
It is.
Remaining in the vortex no matter what, because that matters more. And so now what happens next? You hang around there more. Now the vortex, who has already orchestrated circumstances and events to give you exactly the specifics that you're looking for, can now begin to reveal to you the specifics. You see, you don't want to be right and her to be wrong. You want both of you to be right. You just think in order for both of you to be right, she has to agree with you.
Right. It's true.
And what's interesting about that is everybody thinks that.
She feels the
Why
same
don't
way.
you all, I want you to be right with me, so come over here and believe like I do. And how's that working out for humanity?
It's not.
It's not working out very well, is it? So unconditional love is seeing the subject at hand through the eyes of Source. And Source always finds a reason to love. And when you do, no matter how many reasons you found not to, that's irrelevant. Right here, right now, where all of your power is, where you meet you come into alignment completely with who you are, and love the feeling of it. We saw how you love the feeling of it. You love the feeling of love. And so as you come into alignment with that and you practice the feeling of that, then more specific thoughts come that complement and enhance and dovetail with that vibration. Then the relationship just continues to expand and evolve and be all of the things that all those moments in time that were issues have caused you to ask for. The specifics. Every argument you had caused a creation of something that you want. But we would like to say to all of you, and we think you're ready to hear it now, where maybe at the beginning of yesterday morning you might not have heard it so easily. But we really like saying this to you, knowing that now you're going to get it in the way that we mean it. The specifics that you think you want are not anywhere close to what the vortex is able to deliver. Because you've been putting those pieces there so incrementally, you have no real conscious idea of what the big picture that you've created is. You can sense it, you can sort of kind of feel it, but you can't articulate it yet. But as you hang around in the vortex longer, you'll be able to translate it into real life experience, which will make you feel that hands in the clay feeling of creating your own experience. That's that feeling of pride and appreciation for your ability to create. And there isn't anything that makes you feel righter than that. Because you begin to recognize all of the little pieces that you put together, you see. Good. Working out pretty well, isn't it?